The Subrosa, we actually had one in here, and the thing looks pretty sick. It's a single
Okay.
fin
Little
stinger and
wing.
a pintail.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Do you guys call it a stinger or?
I mean, I don't call it like a traditional stinger, like a Ben Iper stinger. It's
Yeah.
more like a little wing,
Yeah.
or a flyer. So that board comes in three sizes in Thunderbolt: 6'4", 6'7", 6'11". If we go back to boards I've been building with CJ over the years, and a poly version of I build here in Australia, which I call it the slot machine. That's where it bases from. So that slot machine was something I was lucky enough to sit down with Donald Takayama about 25 years ago when I was trying to get myself off longboards back onto shortboards. And I built myself this, you know, tracker style length, uh, which was basically a single fin. And I was with Donald in Noosa and I showed him the board and I had some pretty good results with it. I didn't have such good results when I was trying to surf 8 to 10 foot bells on it. It wasn't going so good. But then I sat down, I showed it to Donald, and obviously being Donald, he knew everything there was to know about boards, and he's still my idol, who I looked up as the greatest. So he gave me a few pointers about that board, and over the time, I refined that to become a 2+1, which obviously these days 2+1 mid lengths are everywhere. So what we wanted to do with the Subrosa is change it up a little bit from a 2+1 and turn it into a single fin. The original slot machine had a slightly wider tail, so hence the wing. We put the wing in so it allows you to generate a lot of speed, and that little wing allows you to wrap turns and break speed through your turn. So that's why the wing. The reason for going to a single fin is we just wanted to do something a little bit different from what everyone else is doing. I mean, there's a 2+1 in the marketplace everywhere. Everyone has one. So there's a little bit of diversification on this model, especially for guys coming off traditional longboards or, normal, 2+1 longboards that are wanting to come down in size. So we wanted to have the board have that similar little feel from rail to rail, that rocking type of feel, and an easy wrap in the turn. So that's why the single fin. The other reason for this board too is for, the older guy who's getting a little heavier, who's been on the shortboards, most of their surfing, they're maybe 35 to 45 years of age. It happens to all of us. We put on a little bit of weight. We don't paddle as well as we used to. That's why we brought in for the next step to get you off that shortboard, because some guys don't want to ride longboards. So this is where this board sort of fits into the marketplace and what we want to do. It's kind of a shortboard is longboard and a longboard is shortboard. So perfect for traveling. Like wherever you want to go, you can just put this in a board bag, and it'll pretty much work in any sort of surf. Anything from 2 to 6 foot, like beach breaks, point breaks, even mushier, fat type of waves. It's a great paddler. So it paddles really, really well. Like it kind of feels like you're on like a 9 foot longboard when you're paddling this. And then with a flatter rocker, lots of speed. So it's quite a simple board, but it just covers a lot of bases.
Wow. So the bottom from the nose all the way through the tail, can you break it down for us?
Yeah, sure. It's actually quite simple. Like sometimes I think less is more with boards. A lot of guys are trying to go. So it's quite flat. It has subtle nose lift. Obviously, we don't want them too flat so they're purling, but there's not enough nose lift to stop it from paddling well. So if you have too much nose lift and too much rocker, obviously like on high performance shortboards, as you get older, they get hard to paddle. They push water. They will obviously sit in a wave better, but these get you in early with this flat bottom into slight V. So it's quite flat through the belly and then just goes into a roll V through the tail. So I still want to keep it being a single fin without the side fins. I mean, single fins obviously wrap from rail to rail very easily. When you take the side of the whale, there is the possibility of losing drive. So that's why I've kept it quite flat. So you still got speed. And a little bit of V behind the fin will just allow it to wrap even more. So it kind of feels like you're surfing a performance shortboard, but with volume.
Wow, that's interesting. The shape is
Yeah,
really mean looking.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I only seen it once, but I thought it was real flat out the tail, but it has a little V to it.
Yeah,
I got
slight little V just behind the fin.
yeah. So the guys that are riding, what sizes were they available in?
You can get them
Um,
in Thunderbolt in a 6.4, 6.7, 6.11. We originally did this model 3 or 4 years ago in Thunderbolt as a music. This is where it's based from. So the poly version was originally a slot machine. Then we went to the music, and this is the next step from there. So what I found, predominantly the best selling boards were the 6.7 and the 6.11. A lot of guys, definitely mainly guys coming off shortboards just wanted that bit more volume and
yeah.
just wanted boards that could get them into waves earlier. So this is where we were finding, the 6.7 and the 6.11 were really good sellers for the bigger, heavier guy. And then the guys that were a little bit lighter, not as heavy, and looking for an alternative, still riding their shortboards, but just wanted a fun board for small days. The 6.4 is where they were going.
So on the fin, do you want something that's a little bit more upright with a little rake at the tip, or do you want it a lot of rake that comes back with a big wide base? Or is it
I'm not
just
a.
preference?
I think with fins, particularly on this style of board, I think if they're too upright, they lose drive. Like, I mean, they're not a. I think when they're straight up and down, that they become very pivoty. I still want them on rail. You still want to be able to put this board on rail and push it through a turn. So if you can lay it on a rail and drive it, it's going to go better than others. So the fin becomes, determines. Sorry, the style of fin determines really the weight of the surfer. Obviously, a bigger guy wants a bigger fin. I still believe you could ride the 6.11 with a 9 inch easily, with some rake to it. So, there's some fins in CJ's range there that will fit. Obviously, the smaller guys I still don't think you want to go too small. You want rake and you want a little bit of flex in your tip. You're not too much flex that it becomes doughy in the turn, but enough flex that when you're coming out of the turn, it's projecting the board forward. So a full flex fin is probably not where we want to be. It's a fin in between.
Mm, doughy. I like that term. I like it. Yeah. So I know there's probably a lot of people that ask you questions. What is the most frequently asked questions about this board when they're trying to decide if they want to go to this board or not?
Well, I think it's a board too. I get asked all the time, volume. Volume's the key. And a lot of people, because this is a board that's going to sit in the quiver and cover a lot of bases for longboarders and for shortboarders. So the most prominent question I get is there enough volume? And there definitely is. Like a 6.11, as I said, I'm in American terms, 200 pound.
Like
So I
90
can ride this.
kilos.
Well, I'm a little bit heavier actually. I'm 96 kilos.
Oh,
So yeah, so probably 210 pounds. So I can ride. I'm 58, and I can ride the 6.11. So that shows me there's enough volume. And the other thing is, people are always asking me, can I perform on this board? Will it surf top to bottom? And can I ride it in bigger waves? For sure, no problem. I mean, the narrower tail will allow. If the wave gets round and steep and hollow, the board's going to hang in there. Because the tail will fit pin like a full gun pin, but it's got that narrower shape through the tail. So it'll sit in a really sucky big wave properly, and it'll surf top to bottom, and you can wrap turns. So
wow.
obviously nothing's going to. It's not going to go like a 6.0 shortboard,
Yep.
but for a guy who can flow and wants to draw some really cool lines, this is where this board's going to fit in.
Wow. I think it's good for the older guys that are getting back, like you said, from shortboard to longboard. They can draw a lot more smoother and nice lines, I think. It'll be wow, that's
Yeah,
really
and
interesting.
I mean, if you still want to come off the bottom and belt it, you still can. Like it's not like it's not going to go there. It obviously, like if you were traveling and you were going all up and down the coast of Australia, or if you're going to Indo or somewhere like that, or surfing some of the waves where you guys are, obviously, some of the waves are extremely heavy over there, but
Yeah.
the majority of the waves, you could just ride this board there for sure.
Right on. Whew. Stoked. Thank you very much. I appreciate your
No
time.
worries.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.